What's up, guys? Casey and George with the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. We're here on a Tuesday at 5 Eastern, 4 Central, like we are every single week. And you'll always know that we get this all presented by TSR Racing Products. Get them to take care of all your transmission needs. I had a shifter cable issue this weekend that we're going to get into a little bit later. Had nothing to do with anything that they sell, but I'm just saying, if you have anything on the internal side, you always want to hit up TSR for that. Champs Performance Parts. If you have anything on the external side, go to him. Figure out what you need. Champ will get it to you usually a couple days. BRG 3D printed parts. If you have anything you can't find anywhere else, Brian Garrett's over there. He will always come up with something that will work on your vehicle. He can always 3D print anything, literally custom anything. Call Brian Garrett, BRG 3D printed parts. CenTex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. Get all your decals, all that type of stuff done from them. Driven Racing Oil, of course, use the code GBR10. Get yourself 10% off your order. Proform Parts, visit proformparts.com. You can find all kinds of stuff. I got a carburetor actually in the mail from them the other day, alcohol carburetor, that I'm going to go through and do a little bit of a reviewing on and things like that. And I'm going to put it on the Nova and we're going to see how it actually performs. Nice. So we'll see how that actually goes. And Crew Chief Pro software, if you don't know what your car is going to run round to round, you definitely need to get Crew Chief Pro. I know George's had a little bit of experience with it. Brad Gebhardt had a lot of experience with it, and they said that it's about the best thing you can find. So, George, what do you think, man? I know you've had a great day today.
I have, but it's even better now. I'm on GBR. Hopefully it gets a little bit better here. Getting a chance to talk with you guys, shoot the breeze about what I love to do as a hobby, and you know, stuff like that. Brad Gebhardt definitely has a really good. He's actually who I credit for getting me hooked on Crew Chief Pro. Him and Pat Fitzpatrick. So definitely Crew Chief Pro's excellent software. I thought I'd throw that out there, but it's definitely a true statement. We got Chris Sullivan in the house. New TSR planetary set in my trans this year. That's what I'm talking about. Head over to TSR to get those internals taken care of. Casey, man, it's I see Kevin Little in here too, by the way, but it's been an interesting day. Pretty fast, kind of quick, and shoot, you look up and it's 4 o'clock for crying out loud. So got to prepare for my son's basketball game, and he's undefeated on the basketball court and getting ready to play for, you know, the first round of the playoffs and all that. So might be a little interesting today. But Casey, man, what we got going on today?
Man, not a whole lot, man, because we have some racing coming up, a whole lot of racing actually out here in the Southeast, I can tell you that. But we had an eventful weekend. For the first time this year, old GBR went out there to the racetrack. We went to KDS Motorsports Kinston Drag Strip. Very historical place in North Carolina. Went out there and had a good time racing this weekend, man. Went out there with Dylan Champion, Brandon Lane. Old Chip showed up there a little while later, another foot breaker out here. And we got a lot of stories, man. We got a lot of stories to tell. I kind of led to that on the Facebook post earlier today. And I don't know if anybody wants to hear them, but we're going to tell them.
That's the way it ought to be anyway. Real quick, Casey, before we get into it, let's talk about what's really coming up. Season's here, you know what I mean? Oh, Mo's coming off of jack stands. I've got everything pretty much ready to go from getting him from out of winterized phase into let's let it burn phase, you know what I mean? It's go time around here. And who knows? I might be out Sunday. Who knows? But I know for a fact, I think next week I'll be out at Extreme Raceway Park for their bracket race. I think it's next week. Don't quote me. Should be something going on, though. And around our neck of the woods, guys, we got a lot of things coming up. You got the Prescott race, the 100 grander. Well, I lost sound there. I'll just flash those flyers at the end of the day. No need in losing everybody there. I'll try to figure it out behind the scenes, but for some reason I lost sound. Anyway, we were talking about the Prescott race, and we'll get back to that after this. Casey, let's go ahead and jump into the topic for the day.
Oh man, we're just talking about this weekend, man, because we had an eventful weekend. So number one, I just got to say that first of all, the deal was we were supposed to go racing on Saturday. Well, it was going to rain out. KDS said, "Hey man, we'll just race on Sunday. It's all good. It's going to be fine on Sunday. Let's all just race Sunday." Well, everybody still went out there and showed up. Dylan Champion, my buddy over here, he was on the show what 3 or 4 episodes ago, George, and Dylan calls me. He says, "Hey, man, me and Brandon, we're going to meet up at the Bojangles." I said, "All right, I'm down for that." So we're going to meet up at the Bojangles in Princeton. I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I was like, "I'm going to leave my house at 10." Well, then all of a sudden we're going to meet at the Bojangles in LaGrange. And I'm like, "Okay." And then all of a sudden we're meeting at the Bojangles in Kinston. And then all of a sudden he's pulling out, "Where are you at? Where are you at?" And I said, "Well, every time you call me, the Bojangles moves 30 minutes down the road, man." "What are you talking about? Where am I at?" So anyway, so that's the start. Actually, no, before that, and this would be better if Brandon told the story, but Champ lost his keys to his trailer. He spends the whole morning freaking out. He can't find the trailer. And I told Brandon, I said, "Well, why didn't he just call me? I'd bring a grinder. We'd cut it off."
Got the lock off, huh?
But he found his keys. So that's the beginning of the day. So that's the beginning of today's story, man. And that's literally only the beginning.
How many of our fans on here right now with us, the followers, should I say, of GBR, have that same type of story? Like you're getting ready to leave and you missed the exit. Okay, we got to switch it to the next exit because there's a Cracker Barrel just about every turn you can take, and that's my favorite right there. Seems like Miss the Bojangles is pretty popular in the good old South.
Hey man, you can go to Bojangles. It's similar to Cracker Barrel, only it's fried chicken.
Yeah,
that's where it starts. So I know you like that, George. I know that's your thing.
You already know. Plus, I've been there before because my brother lived in Goldsboro for a little while. So
that's right.
I have had the great pleasure and absolute full stomach after leaving out of Bojangles.
That's right. Yeah, and that's right. Nova fan over here just said, "Love Bojangles. They should sponsor y'all." I agree. I agree, man, and I think all my friends agree too. Dylan Champion, he's in here. A lot of this story is going to be about him. No T story this time. That's right. If you didn't see the story whenever we had him and Brandon Lane on about this time last year, Dylan spilled a bunch of tea all over Brandon's motorhome, and Brandon, he's very particular. In fact, he probably used a whole can of glass cleaner cleaning off his car just this weekend. And I made sure to make fun of him every single time. So
he keeps a wiping at that bad boy, huh?
I tell you what, his car is very photogenic. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it looked pretty fast too. Not to jump ahead into another story, but I think did you say he's got a new motor in that car, Brandon Lane?
And the whole car is new.
Oh, okay, so the whole thing's new. It looked like it took off pretty good, and it looked like it was hauling the mail down through there. I think Champ ended up telling me it ran about 460. That thing's got every bit of 450 in it. I can tell just by looking. So I know that air and everything was good there, but it's got that car's going to move.
It actually wasn't as good as you think, man, because the dew point was so high with cloud cover, it was only 50-something degrees. So dew point was like 40-something. Oh, wow. It was 75% humidity, believe it or not. So, everybody probably go faster, later on. Well, actually, this weekend, Galot's got triple nickel, which we'll get into after that because I plan on going to that. Actually, my dad's on the way here right now. I don't know if my mom might be watching this right now. Maybe I need to watch my mouth. You know how that goes. But let's go back to this weekend, man. So we roll in. They get a nice parking spot, and I kind of like parking past the ticket booth down there. Now that I have a sweet machine of a scooter, which everybody's seeing right now, and I know old Quez, if he gets on here a little while later, he's going to be happy about that because last time we were down there in the weeds like a mile further down the road than we were this weekend. Me and Quez kept being like, "Hey, Brent, let me run your golf cart up here and get my time slip real quick." So now we don't have to worry about that, Quez. There isn't any walking or pedal biking for us now because I'm pretty sure my pit vehicle finally runs every time I want to start it. Cross your fingers. But so I pull in there. They have this nice smooth area. Well, I got a triple axle trailer, so of course it's going to slide that back wheel. So I tear it up all nice and good for him, So Brandon doesn't have that nice smooth path for his dragster to go over. So I go over there and we talk a little bit. And then, we can't start racing until 12:30 because Sunday there's churches in the area. That's the big thing out here. So we don't start cars till 12:30 or so. So we talk a little bit. Well, we go up there. Everybody runs time run. Champ's running foot brake into the Camaro. Me and Brandon are both running top, and Chip's running foot brake as well, parked over there next to us. So everybody gets through time runs. It's all good. First race of the year for most of us. I don't know if Chip was running for the first time that year. I obviously was. Brandon, I know, and Champ have ran his car earlier this year at Coastal.
Yeah.
A month ago
weeks
or so.
ago, yeah.
At Coastal. So we go down there and, everybody has a good time run. Everybody's ready to go. Champ goes up there. They call him IDT first. So he goes up there. We watch him win the round. And then they call us up there. And I said, me and Brandon are trying to stay away from each other. So I was like, well, I'll go up there first. I'm 640 door car. I'm not worried about being the guinea pig because I'm going to hook anyway, right? So I go up there, put it in reverse, back up, put it in drive. I'm still backing up, And I'm like, what's this all about? So I put it in park, put it back in drive. And I'm like, well, maybe the trans brake's shorting out or something weird's happening. So I have my line lock tied into my trans brake. So I was like, maybe that's hanging, whatever. So I put it in neutral, put it back in drive, and I'm still in neutral. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So then I hit the trans brake and I back up. And I'm like, and it's got a pro brake in it, so you got to hit the trans brake to back up. I'm like, man, it's stuck in reverse. So I shut the car off, get under the car and feel it, and I'm in drive on the shifter, and I'm in reverse on the transmission. So I'm like, dang, So I get out, I shut the car off, and Champ comes back from his run, and he says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Man, my car, shifter cable broke, And he says, "Well, just run my car." So the problem is that Champ is 6'8", right? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, I can't run that car because I'm going to be like a little kid like this. I can't touch the pedals. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, no, I brought all these pillows for some reason. I don't know why he brought them. I guess he just had a feeling that something wasn't going to work out. It was the first time Brandon was running his brand new car, and we just didn't know, but we weren't all going to go there and not have the option to everybody run everybody's stuff. So he says, well, I got all this stuff. Let's just see. You can run my car if you want to. So I sit in this car and I'm like, man, I don't know about this, like this. I don't know, like I've never driven this before, and that's a bottom bulb car, and we just literally, Adam Bullia just converted it to a top bulb car and wired it up with a delay box and built a post and all that stuff. And I'm like, man, I don't know even what to put in the box and all this, but Champ said, man, it's yours if you want it. You make the decision. I'm like, well, I guess I'll just run it, right? So, and you got to think about this too, George. Like, this isn't a okay, we're deciding this at the beginning of the day, right? This is legitimately, wow. I figured out that my car didn't work because me and Brandon had sat there and talked a while, because you know how it is. You don't want to be the first one up there. So we had already screwed around for like 15 minutes, and I threw it in drive, and that's when I figured out it didn't work, right? So this is literally, he just rolled up, and we're going to, we're making all these decisions in about 5 minutes, right? So we decide that I'm going to drive it. So I roll up here, and we have no idea what it's going to run. Champ weighs 100 pounds more than me, right? I've never driven this car before. I don't fit in the car. We're trying to figure out how to make me fit in the car. We're taking the delay box out. He goes and grabs the delay box out of his truck, which I don't even know why he brought it. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, he just happened to have brought it. So it was kind of all like, it was just going to work out that way. So I was like, well, I think this is what I was going to put in my car, so I guess I'm going to do this. So I drive up there for first round, and I pull up in the lanes. Well, luckily, I end up running a door car, which, by the way, Chris Bell was running his, I don't know if it's his father-in-law he says it's his girlfriend's dad's car, but I'm pretty sure they'll probably end up getting married because I saw this car and Chris needs that car, and that's the only way he's going to get it. I'm just saying. So you know how that goes. But dude, I'm not a Ford guy. This is by far one of the nicest race cars I've ever seen. It looks like a Gone in 60 Seconds Mustang, only black.
Wow.
I mean, it's nice. It's actually on this thumbnail. You didn't even know that was him.
Right. Nope. I
Dude,
didn't.
that car is just me and Brandon, when we saw it drive by, I told Brandon, I said, that's the nicest car at this entire track. And me and Brandon were looking at it. I didn't know Chris was driving it. So anyway, I run Chris first round. Just after I just got down telling Chris my entire story of what was going on right then. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work very well. I just told him that I had no idea what I'm gonna run. I've never ran this car before. So we go up there. Chris totally screws me over, right? And I say that in a funny way because Chris missed the tree, and he told me I don't remember what he said the whole story, but he missed the tree like bad. It's not a Chris thing to do, but Chris misses the tree like 120.
Oh wow!
Now you have to remember, Champ just went down through there 100 pounds more than me. He just went down through there at like 660, and I'm down like 57 because I'm like, that's close. I don't know. Well, I'm running against Chris. I let go. I'm 26, right? Which pretty good. Never driving the car. Well, I'm already in front of him, and I'm like, man, I must be holding like 15 or something insane, right? So I'm lifting already before probably like 100 foot, and so I win that round. Well, the problem is, because I'm lifting at 100 foot, I have no idea what I can run now still, because we don't have any times other than the 60 time, Wow. So, yeah. And Champ's foot braking, so we can't even gauge off that, No. So, not that you can anyway, but we definitely couldn't do anything. So then I'm like, great. So
you got
Champ's
that win light, lifting all the way down the track.
I got that win light. Well, so Champ says, what are you doing lifting at, you got to at least go to 330. We still don't know what you can run. So we're like, okay, so we're trying to do math and figure all this stuff out within like 15 minutes. Because he's got to go up there and run foot brake, right?
Breaks up.
So he goes up there. Well, he wins. And we get back and I'm like, so what am I gonna run? And we got to figure this out in like 10 minutes. And this isn't a 10-minute conversation, So we're like, well, maybe it'll run this. So we just leave I think we actually put a 58 on it. And I was like, I don't know about this, but that's what we thought at the time. There's a lot going on, right? So I roll up there and I'm again in the lanes, still talking. We're all talking as friends, all of us. Brandon's back here, like a couple cars back. I actually thought I was running Brandon. And I was like, that's the worst person I can run because he knows exactly what's going on. We're literally parked in front of him. We are plugging Dylan's car in to Brandon's generator. That's how much he knows what's going on. So I was like, well, this is terrible. I told Brandon, I said, because we thought we were running each other. I said, well, this is going to look so stupid that I don't know what you're going to do because I'm either going to destroy you or I'm going to just suck, But nobody's going to know what's going on this run. So the whole time we're sitting here talking. Well, guess who I end up having to run? The guy that we're talking with, Danny Waters Jr.
Oh, wow.
Who, by the way, I multiple-time divisional and I want to say world champion also, which I never even thought of until about last weekend because Danny's just a friend out here. But we need to have Danny on this show, and I'm gonna talk to him about that here pretty soon and get him on this show and talk to him. Because he's got a lot of stories to talk about. So I told Champ, I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Like, Danny's probably the best racer at this entire track right now. So I got to run Danny, and I just told him everything that's happening. So I go up there, and I tried to stall it up. I forgot Champ's car has, and I didn't even think about this until I was talking to Adam Bullia on the way home. And Champ's car has stock brakes on it still. So I'm stalling it up like my car, which has drag brakes all around. Yep. And I'm trying to bump it in. And I took one too many bumps, and I was like, oh, no. So I let go, and I come back. I went red, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because long story short, it turns out that I was holding 5 or 6, and I thought I was holding maybe 3. So I would have lost anyway. Because, I mean, Danny's in a 460 dragster.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, you ain't holding that many going down track. Yeah,
yeah, and I'm in the right lane. I can't see out of it. I don't fit in the car, all this. So, I mean, I was just going to do what I was going to do, and I still would have broke out by a bunch. But so anyway, I come back, and I told Brandon, I said, man, I took 1 too many bumps. I said, if I wouldn't have bumped that one more time, it would have been 6 or 8. I guarantee it was like 3 red. That's what I told him. Champ comes back laughing. He says, you're going to be mad. I said, why? I said, what was it? Was it 3 red? He said it was 1 red. I was like, oh, no. And because I had pulled 15 out, because that's where I figured I should be.
Right.
So I put some more in. Well, next round I come back up, because Kinston, you can buy back second round still. So I bought back. I go back up. Who do I have to run again? Chris Bell again in the Mustang again. I'm like, well, I'm not getting anything past him now.
Nope.
Well, I got lucky that round. And, of course, I legged it out against Danny. I ran like 52 with like a mid or a high number. Well, I let go on Chris. Chris goes red, so I legged it out again. And I went 51 with a high number. And I was dialed 52. And I was 13 on the tree. And I told Champ, I said, we're good now.
We're good. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what happened between then and the staging lanes. But I don't know why. I don't know if it was because I went 52 in his and 51 in his, and I went 48 in mine. And for some reason, something was screwed up. Because I even told him, Champ, before every time that I would get in his car, he would just tell me, I think you can run this, be smart. Well, I chose to be dumb. And I chose to be dumb twice. I let go, and I'm like, I missed it. And I'm running a 450 dragster, 4th round. Old man Phipps. They own that place, man. Phipps family, they win like every weekend. One of them wins. There's 2 boys and the old man, and they win all the time at Kinston. In fact, they actually won this weekend. Go figure. But so I ran old man Phipps. He's dialed 450 something, and so I let go, and I was like, oh no, I missed it, and I let go. I'm like 39 or something. Well, he's 20, 26, 28, something like that. So I still would have had a chance. Well, long story short, I go down there, and I don't know what I'm even thinking. Like, I knew I was late. I don't know what I'm thinking, but I ripped it 3 times, and I'm like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, what am I doing?
What was your dial?
52. I would have run, if I would have legged it out, I would have went 52 with, we figured, between a 3 or a 7. So I would have went dead on.
Right.
And so I still don't think I would have won the round, but I definitely wasn't going to win the round when I gave him 5 more numbers worth of room after I already gave him a whole number worth of room,
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I just had so much going on that because the car showed me back to back that it was going to go dead on.
But let's analyze it though, especially right here. This is a good time to pull out number one, on Going Bracket Racing, we don't just tell you about the good times because they don't always happen that manner as good. So this is my analysis just now hearing this story, guys. This is the first time I've heard it, just like you guys out here on Going Bracket Racing. My analysis says you let go of that button, you were like, I'm dead late. And almost as if your whole demeanor changed from that point forward. You were like, I'm late, and then everything shuts off. I know that somebody in here can tell me that they've had that issue before, no question, because I've had it before. I let go, I know I'm late, and then next thing you know, I take my eyes off the tree and look for a bump down button. You really can't bump down in that manner, okay? I mean, if you have your finger over it, you can just tap it. But here I am, letting go of the button. Oh, man, I'm late. Where the bump down button at? And I look up the light screen. I'm like, man, I'm really late now. I'm really late now. So what could have been 40 turned out to be 80 something. So do you think that's what got you? You think you knew you were late in your mind and like you went into, I won't say self-destruct, but what the heck am I doing mode?
No, man, I think really what happened was it was just a matter of, so much was happening in such a small amount of time. Um, and ultimately because, we had my son last year in August. So I kind of quit racing about July, and I raced one time between then because the weather got bad and I didn't get to race anymore. So I think it was just a matter of, number one, is first race of the year. That's how stuff always is. You're out of practice. Yeah, you're rusty, exactly. And then on top of it, I hadn't raced in 9 months or something like that, essentially, like every single weekend type thing. And it's one of those deals. I always say, I was telling Brandon this weekend, like my thing I always try to do is I always try to say no excuses, because if you make an excuse, you're never going to be able to figure out what the true issue was. Ultimately, what the true issue was, I think, is that, like Adam was telling me, he's like, that car has stock brakes on it. They drag more than a drag brake was. So whenever I was lifting, I thought I was killing X and I was actually killing Y. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So that was number one. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter what I was killing, because if I was doing what I was doing in Champ's car and my car, I shouldn't have been killing anyway, right? Because I wasn't holding anything.
Right. Right.
But, ultimately, the moral of the story is when Champ tells you to be smart, you shouldn't be dumb.
You shouldn't be dumb. I'll tell you what, great time for a pause. Story time with Casey is what I'm going to dub this. Actually, I said, what did I say? Broke but not out, or down but not out was the title of this. that actually resonates with what we're talking about right now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, guys, with a little bit more from GBR.
BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top-selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
TSR Racing Products has everything you need to make your Powerglide Turbo 350, Turbo 400, and 727 transmissions the best they can be on the street or at the track. With exceptional products, customer service, and over 30 years of experience, TSR Racing Products is always available to help their customers with any of their transmission needs. In-house machining ensures you only receive the best products from TSR Racing. Visit TSR Racing Products at tsr-racing.com or give them a call at 800-394-5889.
Proform wedge locking header bolts are the last set of header bolts you'll ever need. Each bolt comes pre-assembled with a pair of special locking washers. Wedge locking header bolts are manufactured with grade 8 steel and come in 1-inch and 3/4-inch lengths.
We are back. Born Bracket Racing. Thanks everybody for joining us. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, that follow button, that alert button, whatever you need to know. That GBR is live for another episode. I don't know how many we've done now. I think it's probably like 105 or 6. So we need to do a tribute, Casey, one of these days, maybe next week or something. If our work schedules permit it, we need to have a celebration of 100 episodes over here at GBR. Couldn't be possible, guys, without Crew Chief Pro coming on board with us here. You need anything? I need something. I'm gonna tell you right now. I love to know what the weather's doing outside. Crew Chief Pro will tell me what I want. Number 2, I don't like to write down stuff, so I can log all my runs inside of Crew Chief Pro software to make it even better. So look over at crewchiefpro.com. If you got any needs out there on that racetrack, I promise you, he can set you up with something good there. Proform Parts. Thank you for everything that you do. BRG 3D printed parts. TSR Racing Transmissions. Thank you all for being a part of GBR community here. But yeah, man, I'm looking through the chat here, Casey, man. I see Quest the Duck finally came in. Like you mentioned, he'd probably come in here. He's saying you let him down. But I think I just heard you say earlier on the show that he can ride your scooter anytime he wants to. Man.
He can.
Come on, Quest. He took care of you. Casey got you a scooter, man. And so
it's a special scooter, but it works. It may or may not work at the time, but right now it's working. I'm telling you. And if we have to park down there in the weeds, then if Brent wants to go on a joyride with his golf cart, then me and Quez are fine. I don't think it'll all both of us, though. I'm telling you.
Yeah, you don't got to do any pedaling, is what I heard.
That's right.
Unlike myself, I have to pedal. But no, man, it's definitely a good episode going on here on GBR. And we talked a little bit briefly right prior to this show about something that I feel like maybe we should go a little bit more in depth with, and that's those old pipe racks. I love dragsters, don't get me wrong. A lot of people call them pipe racks. Taking so long to get done with pass. And you mentioned something that I wanted to bring up here with GBR and get your guys' feel for this thought. Casey, man, you said Kinston was done by about 8 o'clock, and you were home even after double buybacks by 8 yourself. And let's talk about that, because you brought up a pretty good idea about why that's the case.
Well, that was kind of what I was telling you earlier was, ultimately Kinston a lot of time is primarily a door car track. I think there were maybe like 5 dragsters there this weekend, maybe something like that. And ultimately, the over the line burnouts, things like, which I mean, especially a track like that, you don't have room to do a behind the line burnout in a dragster. But ultimately, the drivers at Kinston a lot of time, they'll do their burnouts and whatnot, but they'll be back and they'll just go right in and stage, no messing around, no looking at the box, no nothing like that. And ultimately, there might have been like 40 cars there or whatever, but you got first and second round buybacks, which ultimately makes it just as long as a normal race. And you're talking, we couldn't even fire the cars until 12 o'clock. We started time runs at 12:30. We did have a decent amount of classes, and there were a ton of bottom bulb cars there too. So we had top bulb, bottom bulb, junior dragsters, and bikes all there. And we started time runs at 12:30. And now there were no issues, there were no oil downs, things like that. So, but a lot of races, that's how it is.
Right.
And ultimately, we ended up, I was on my way home, and I can't remember if it was Adam or Dylan called me, and Phipps won the race. Old man Phipps won the race at 8 o'clock. I wasn't even home yet whenever they told me that. And I got home at 8 o'clock or 8:15. So you're talking, total time, 8 hours. That tells me right there that it's possible, just maybe that shot clock idea is a good idea.
Yeah, and I was going to go there too, and also bring up the thought process, since we've already really spoke about the shot clock, and of course we can talk about it again. And I know that there's a lot of people out here in the drag racing community that feel like we can make things go quite a bit faster. What do you feel like, since this, and this is my thought process just a moment ago, Casey, so this is brand new, hot off the press right here, dragster versus dragster slows the race even more is what I feel like you're saying in a roundabout way.
Well, that's not exactly what I'm saying, but I do agree with you now that you bring it up, because the door car drivers are always, it seems like, ready to go, because door car drivers will do a burnout and they go in and pre-stage pretty much immediately. That's how it goes, which forces the dragster driver to hurry up. So that might be true, man. Like I know a lot of guys don't. Necessarily want to run a dragster in their 6-second door car or whatever. But I also know a lot of my friends that I'm not going to mention here, they don't like running 6-second door cars either, because they can't judge them either.
Sure.
So they can't drive the way that they want to drive either, because ultimately, if you're holding 2 in a dragster and I'm running 650s in a door car, your slow dragster is still going to go 5 flat, right?
Sure.
It's not hard to go 5 flat in a dragster, I guess is my point.
Right.
So ultimately, no one can judge anyone else. So it doesn't matter if you're holding 2, you need to hold 10 to actually, if you're going to ride with me, well, now that plays all in my hand, because if I'm holding, you don't know where you're at. Yeah. So if I bail out last minute, because I can hit the brakes real hard at the finish line and I'm not going to slide the tires, I'm only a 100-mile-an-hour car.
Right.
Right. So if I'm going 100 mile an hour, I can kill 10 mile an hour between the lights and not screech the tires.
Right.
You cannot catch that. I don't care who you are.
Right. So, but going back to my comment though, if we were to get rid of said door car, dragster format, do you feel like the race would run faster? I do. Only as of today. I would fall under the category of I don't have a lot of experience racing against dragsters, and I want to drive a dragster so that I can bridge that gap. I've said that. I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. I'll probably get that chance too, right? With my dad having a dragster, it's a 440 car, so I mean, I'm gonna go from point A to point B pretty doggone quick. You might have to check the starting line for that brown stuff. That's not oil. So that's probably gonna be me. But case in point, I feel like we could probably discuss this down the line. Is will dragsters versus door cars actually speed a program? But I'm gonna take this comment real quick from Jalen Whitmore. He says he got to run at Kinston late last year in Reggie Lynch's Nova. He says they definitely run their program fast and smooth. Mm-hmm. So it seems as if someone else has experienced the speed of KDS Motorsports Park and how they take care of a program. I know I've seen several pictures of an old guy spraying that old track down, keeping everything nice and sticky, look pretty good out there. And I also need to shout out Jayla Whitmore. I've seen you in the winter circle, I think already probably 2 or 3 times this year. You make sure you stay away from that old red S10 over down there at Extreme or Ardmore or wherever else. Okay, just come pit next to me so I can follow you up to the lanes and just park right behind you. So
I'll tell you what, yeah, and Reggie, I was hoping he was going to be out there this weekend. I was hoping and not hoping because I want to see Reggie because he's a good guy, but I don't want to see him in the lanes because usually every time I run Reggie, I barely lose to him every single time. He always just barely edges me out, and it's always like 5th round or something. Like the next round, you're getting ready to get paid. Reggie always gets paid, and I never do.
So, yeah, man, that's going back to the topic, though. It's interesting that, you know, we still talk about this even now, even though we've talked about it this many times, that dragster burnouts, man, maybe there ought to be a distance on how far you can burn out. Like if you burn out past the 330, then you got 10 seconds to back up and get into the beams or something. I don't really know. You know, maybe reverse the shot clock and make it, if you go too far, the shot clock's active and you better get back. You know, speed it up a little bit.
I just think that it's the overall idea of just let's go. You know, like let's go. Like I don't care if you do an 1/8 mile burnout because think about it, man. Back in the day, John Force used to have a fuel funny car do burnouts all the way to the 1/8 mile, and he'd still be stage first. You know what I mean?
Back.
Like,
yep.
It's just if you're gonna do that, that's fine. Just let's race. Let's be ready to race when we pull into the burnout box. Like I've added. In fact, this last weekend, I added 2 numbers in the box. You know, in Champ's car whenever I was getting ready to stage right before I pre-staged. But you know, ultimately, that's fine. It takes like literally 5 seconds to do, but you don't need to sit here and adjust your gloves, look down, look at this, look at that. Like if you didn't have oil pressure in the burnout, you know, whenever you're backing up from the burnout, you look at the oil pressure. If you have oil pressure, then you're going to have oil pressure when you stage in an idle. You're not going to lose oil pressure idling. You're going to lose oil pressure doing a burnout. Sure. That's what you're going to do.
Brian Cook calls it common courtesy. I actually don't disagree at all. You know, if I'm going to do a lone burnout, I'm at least going to get that bad boy in reverse and get back as fast as I can. You really don't, I mean, you can back up and straighten the car up at the same time. So if you've done that squirrely of a burnout, you probably had a problem in the first place.
Speaking of Brian Cook, that reminds me of the OG Million going to Gateway. Brian Cook, I'm sure, will be in there. I know Scott will be probably doubled in it for sure. Scott will be a threat to win that deal. The entire Cook family, for that matter.
Yeah.
You know, but ultimately, I saw something a little bit earlier on Gleghorn's post that he was posting about Jed called somebody from the West Coast to win the OG Million. And I said, you guys have forgotten Greg Sestie's already won the OG Million, and that's his stomping grounds, number 1.
Did he say OG or did he say Spring Fling Million?
Well, maybe he did say the Spring Fling Million. Maybe I didn't read into
Vegas, right? Yeah.
That might.
Hey, man, because I was fixing to say, if he said it the way you're saying it now, I mean, you're just giving no credit at all to the middle part of the country. Like, geez. And I seen him say, well, there ain't even going to be somebody from the West to win the Stampede that's going on at Texas Motorplex. So
Leghorn thinks that it is so unlikely that he'll pay you more money if you come from the West Coast and win it. He put his money. That's the one thing, man. You got to give Leghorn, you know, credit because he'll put his money where it's about this. He isn't scared. If he thinks something strongly enough, he'll say, fine, come out and run it. I'll pay you more if you want to win it and you afford to get back home, you know.
Quest the Duck says he identifies as a dragster during the burnout process. Yeah, I can see you burning through the line, opening up the door, and slow backing up while you adjust your self in the groove 3, 4, 5 different times. But no, that's I saw that post about Gleghorn. I'm kind of glad you brought that back up. I guess Big Jed might have called it out, and I think you mentioned that. So I don't see anybody from the West winning. Of course, I don't know anybody from the West, so it's hard for me to have a pick, even if there was somebody who could compete. What about you?
I mean, ultimately, man, there's just I don't know. Obviously, I'm an East Coast guy. I'm 2 hours from the beach. You know what I mean? But maybe less. I'm 2 hours from the beach that's next to the racetrack that I like to go to, I guess I should say. But I mean, in my opinion, man, I just, ultimately, I'm not saying the guys on the West Coast aren't as good as the guys on the East Coast, but what I'm saying is there's way more guys on the East Coast that are capable of winning that race that will be there than there are guys on the West Coast that are capable of winning that race, period. Yeah. And I mean, just simple statistics says that it's just not going to happen. I don't care. I don't care who it happens. I hope that Winlight Bets is live for the entire thing. I want to say that Rex, I'll have to text him after this and see. I want to say that Rex said that's when Winlight Bets is first going to go live with real money to be able to bet real money.
He's at Bradenton right now, I think, with
World Series of Pro Mod.
World Series. So, hey, if you guys don't have the Winlight Bets app, Casey and I, we talked back and forth pretty much all weekend about that before he had to go racing, about how much excitement. I've never really watched anything but bracket racing. But, I actually spent a little bit of time. Flow Racing was actually free for a little bit there, and I think they made you go behind the paywall around round 2. Excellent marketing, by the way. You almost got me, Flow. But it was a pretty fun way to participate in that race without actually being at it. So head over to if you're in your app store. I'm pretty sure it's on all devices by now. But download Winlight Bets. This next couple of races will at least show you how the application works. Casey and I are thinking about maybe even making a group for us and betting within the Going Bracket Racing community, I guess, But just something to think about as something to do whenever you're out in the shop or you're sitting around watching some drag racing or some sports or whatever it is. You get a chance to chime in and make a few extra bucks in that app. So.
Definitely, man. And while I was just looking down, everybody saw me just looking down. I literally just texted Rex to see. I told him I was live on GBR right now to see if he, like I said, World Series of Pro Mod's going on right now. That's where he's at. So he might not hit us back in time right now for this episode, but I'll definitely post it up on the Facebook page, let y'all know what's going on because he'll hit me back by the end of the night. But if that's live, the cool part about that whole deal, George, was that I know we were only betting with like points, right? But the coolest part about that whole thing was that remember whenever the truck was running the Pro Mod car?
Yep.
I knew who those people were, and I was like, I know the truck isn't getting down the track right now, I feel like. So I just went all in on it, which is why I ended up in the top 3. So I went all in on it. Well, it turns out that Corvette did a monster wheel stand, and I was like, oh, no.
I can't remember the driver's name, but she controlled it pretty good and got it down the track under control.
So that's how I ended up going to the leaderboard on that whole deal, man. But ultimately, I saw it. Like, I called you right after that. I was like, dude, Winlight is going to be huge because this was only points, and that made it so exciting that happened. Because I was like, oh, no, if the truck stabs it, then I'm going to lose everything right now,
Right. But I'm trying to remember the program that is like fake money where you can gamble in stocks and kind of use fake money to get your strategy down as you're watching Fibonacci's this, that, and the third move up and down. And I can't remember the exact name of it, but that's what this weekend reminded me of. So I'm sitting here gambling and making predictions based on, I watched a few of those cars in qualifying and I watched a few of them, kind of go down the track. But very, very interesting way to take care of it. Yes, Bracket Racer 1, we are talking about gambling on a app. It's coming, and it's going to be really good come Motor Mania time. I really can't wait to watch the Fling. The Fling's gonna be fun. I do think they're live at the Fling, and I do believe so. Definitely pretty neat. Hey, on another note though, did you see Chris Sullivan's wreck?
No, dude, I did. Oh, wait, yeah. Sorry, there's two Chris Sullivans we know.
I was like, not the one in the chat right now.
You freaked me out for a minute.
My bad, Chris. Yeah, I know. I just saw him make a comment. That old car was on fire for a good little while, and then you watch the two pit vehicles collide, and one old boy go flying off that pit vehicle. I'm glad he was okay, But that was interesting. It was definitely
man. My buddy Phil Kraus, I texted him about that because I knew he's actually going down to World Series of Pro Mod this week to go see what's going on down there. So maybe we'll get some inside scoop on what's going on down there. But Phil told me that I didn't even think about it. Obviously, all the Pro Mods they put the fuel cells in the front, and and I knew that's why they catch on fires, because if they're running gas, that creates a spark, or there's headers there or whatever, and that's why they do that. Well, he's like, man, they put the fuel tank up there because of the weight. I always just figured it was because it's easier for the fuel pump because of just forces and G forces, push it back, which is obviously some of the reason. But he says they hang it out there so far. Well, that's the first thing that hits the wall, because the fuel tank, the fuel cell is out there so far, it's in front of the chassis. So there's nothing to protect it. They need to put some sort of, gas is gas, man. Ultimately gas is going to light, you know what I mean? So it's one of those deals where I don't really know how you protect that. I don't know if you can put the frame in front of it, because it's going to ultimately collapse. Rex did just text me back. He said it's still play for fun this year. Bet for free. Win real money is what he said. So I'll explain to you guys what that means a little bit more later in the week in a Facebook post, and kind of elaborate on what he means by that.
It's a smart move, as we change subject back before we get out of here, to make sure he's got all the bugs worked out of the application. A great way to do it as well, chasing some of these. I think I might have won a T-shirt or something just for participating. So guys, I'm telling you, it's definitely a fun way to engage yourself in some bracket racing, some drag racing, some Top Sportsman Pro Mod. I don't care what it is. It's going to be on Winlight Bets. So head over there and download it.
He says Winlight will be at the Spring Fling Vegas and have our drag race themed casino open at the Spring Fling Million.
Nice.
So they're going to do everything there. We're going to finally be able to figure out what it's like to bet on actual bracket races and see how everything works, and then judging by this, shortly we'll be able to start betting real money on all this stuff. And I think you can set up your own groups where you can bet amongst all your buddies. Right. So you don't necessarily have to bet against the field. You can maybe he has a deal where you can say have 10 buddies all in there, and everybody puts in $20. You bet $1 a round or whatever, and at the end of the night, somebody's going to win $200. You know what I mean? So you don't really have to do anything but have a good time and just talk a bunch of crap with your buddies like we would do if we were there anyway.
Right. So definitely looking forward to it. Seems as if he's following these races too. He's not just setting up his app and sitting at home. He's actually out there. As he says, he's going to have the casino set up at the one of the Fling Races events. I think you said there, so the Million or something, but that's pretty neat. Casey, we're coming up on that hour, man. What you got in closing?
Man, we're just getting ready to. I got a new shift cable coming in the mail tomorrow. I'm gonna put that on the Nova, and we're gonna come in and hopefully do some good at Triple Nickel this weekend at Galat. Man, they changed the weather forecast. It's supposed to be good weather all weekend. $155 to run all weekend for 3 5-granders. You're not really going to beat that. Ultimately, after it's all said and done, I want to say it's $155 to enter the entire weekend. So it's, what's that, like $50 a day, essentially $51 a day, something like that.
Right.
$55 buyback. That place is going to be packed. It's going to be a great first race of the year. They already posted up that if you want to leave your rig there, they're having Triple Nickel this weekend, 3 days of racing for $5,000 this weekend. Next weekend, they're going to have their points program, and I'm sure because there's so many people around there and it's the first race of the year, they'll probably have a gambler's race on Friday. So essentially 3 days of racing the next weekend, where they're going to have top and mod and junior dragsters. So we'll run all that. Then the next weekend, we're looking at Loose Rocker St. Patrick's Day. So they got top and mod at that. I think it's 13,000 to win top, 3 sevens on the bottom, 3 days. So, I mean, we got a ton of racing to do out here in North Carolina for March. As long as the weather stays good, then we're going to have a lot to do. That's for sure. I'm planning on being at all of them.
Well, I heard that, man, and definitely shout out to your buddy Jerry McCracken. Old Brian Ernest must have won over there at North Florida Motorplex on Sunday in Super Pro. Hey, good job, Brian, and way to turn on those win lights. Tyler Stein, what's up? Thanks for joining us. Nova fan, yeah, that Fast Brackets podcast is pretty good. Oh, Rex Silvermaker is a pretty good guy too. So again, from GBR, make sure you check out that Win Light Bets application. And as always, guys, number one, turn on some electricity this weekend, because I know there's a lot going on. A lot of us out here are entering into go time. Turn on that electricity. Let us know how you do. And we'll see you next Tuesday right here on Going Bracket Racing. Peace out. I almost think the Top Bulb 150 sold out, Casey.